Thanks for taking some time out to connect and share your thoughts and everything for the viewers and the listeners. As we get started, if you want to just introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about what you do and who you are.
That works. Well, thank you, Sean, for having me. I will say this. I'm Deidre Wright. I'm a storyteller and a strategist. So my background is in corporate. So I worked in different industries, healthcare, insurance, risk management. I'll say no matter what, I either created a strategy or helped a company or a person articulate their value and solutions to help people or businesses. As of my story, I'm a Bay Area native from the East Bay, went to school in Atlanta at Spelman. And so I had a really interesting background in which no matter what, I realized everyone has a story to share, and you have to be adaptable to any kind of environment to be successful. So I actually was laid off in December this year. And since then, I was a marketing executive, I started doing my side hustle full time, which is helping people and businesses clarify, pitch, and package their brands to help people. So hopefully with this platform, I can tell people, how do you share your stories or experiences right now when people are in more need than ever, to feel, I guess for me, feel inspired to create a change and feel connected to people.
Sure. And considering the state of pandemic, how has that affected your business and what you do?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously it's already challenging, trying to figure out how to switch from being a side hustler to a full-time entrepreneur, even more challenging during a pandemic. If nothing else, I'm adaptable. So I'm going to use my skill sets. And what I'm doing right now is figuring out, okay, what's a new way to package my goods and services? So going from a long-term coaching engagement to more short, hourly coaching or shorter, smaller packages. Also, doing pro bono work, which seems counterproductive, but it's like right now, I think people need to sample your experience before they're going to invest their hard-earned money. So I've just been adapting it that way, but I'm also not above hustling and finding other ways to get streams of income. So that's how I've been adapting to this.
Sure. It's definitely trying times for a lot of us small business owners and creatives. If you could summarize like one area to focus on during this time, what would that be? Like what should somebody be focusing on, or what should they be paying attention to in this time?
Yeah. I kind of go in different directions, but if I have to think of one thing that I would tell people is, risk management. It's very crucial. If you're not aware of risk management, it's a way either to protect yourself from situations that will either impede your success or finding ways to exploit other opportunities to grow your success. So if you don't have a risk management plan when it comes to business interruption, supply chain, or whatever, you got to figure out how to manage your risk. So right now you're able to either ride this wave out or find new ways to find opportunities to grow business that you might not have tried before.
Sure. And how about like, what are things going to look like after this? Like that's something that I question. And I know a lot of others out there are wondering, like, yes, we're in this like stall period, or people have called it famine period, where things just might not be functioning or moving forward, but then all of a sudden there's going to be a boom. Like, what's your opinion on how things will look once this clears?
I think it'll be a reset for everybody. The best thing about this beginning of best thing is that we're all in it together. Obviously there's varying degrees of it, your experience, but I think a lot of times there's been less empathy for people. Also, there's been this rise and grind culture, which I was a part of which like, I'm going to spend all my time working. I'm going to be up late, not invest in my health. But right now, health is wealth. So I hope this will be opportunity for people to think about, what are my values? Who are the people and businesses I want who align with my values, and who do I want to partner with in the future? It's really telling the leaders who are stepping up and the companies and places who aren't. So I honestly think it'll get us closer to our values and help us appreciate the little things, and also make people more creative who weren't before, because it's forcing them outside their comfort zone, but we're all in it together to help each other out. So I'm more hopeful. Now it's going to be, just from my risk management background, I'm like, it's going to be an interesting and different waves of how we're going to get over this, because even when this is over, let's say, people have to think about the PTSD and how are they going to get over the fear of, man, is it really over? Do I feel safe going to work? How am I going to adapt as clients? Okay, are my clients okay? Is it appropriate to reach out to them for prospecting or whatever? Because you don't want to be insensitive if they've had multiple deaths in their family based on this pandemic. So I think, like I said, if nothing else, is getting us closer to our values. And I hope it's going to be a good reset for how do we get closer aligned to that and protect and take care of ourselves more.
Yeah, you said two things that really stuck out to me there. Number one being mental health, and number two, to summarize in my own words, like your positioning statement. Like, how are we going to position ourselves after this? First, tell me a little bit about what you're doing for your mental health. To preserve your mental health.
That's a good question. And so for me, before this, but even more now, I've been doubling down on it. I start and end every day expressing gratitude. I've been through trying times before. Like I said, I was just laid off before this happened. So I'm like, well, to me, it's like the issue is that obviously it's a health crisis, but I've already been kind of going through this. How am I going to get through things? But I'm like, if I express gratitude every day for, hey, I have shelter, I have food, I'm able to work or figure out ways of doing business from home. A lot of people don't have it. So I think by starting by saying, and I don't know if you're spiritual or not, for me, I'm spiritual. So I'm like, thank God for this, but just thank you, whoever, for letting me live another day and be healthy. And I think that kind of grounds me because things can always be worse. So that helps me for my mental. And I also have boundaries. In the beginning, you're trying to keep track with the news. I have to shut it off sometimes. Like, okay, I have my check-in points for emails, for the news, and then I cut it off for my own well-being. So I'm not always in a state of anxiety. So that's been helping with my mental health and wealth right now.
Sure. Before we go on to that other topic, I want to get into, how are you feeling? Like, have you taken time to actually process how you're feeling?
That's a good question. I really appreciate that. And I'm going to ask you the same because I think when you're in a crisis or issue, you're moving, you're adapting, whatever, but you don't really take the time, or for me, I didn't normally take the time to pause. How am I doing? Mm-hmm. And I think I'm okay. And I say that because when you're in the middle of a situation, I come from a family and ancestors of survival. Like, we are survivalists. And I think if nothing else, I have a son. I try to make sure he's fine, having him be grounded, and kids are resilient. He's fine. It helps me be okay. But I think I'm more in tune, and maybe because I'm a mother or a woman or whatever, or just a person, I'm like, as long as my son's fine, I'm okay. But how are you doing?
I'm doing all right too. I mean, I spent some time last night kind of processing everything and just figuring out, how I'm actually feeling. Like, I took time to process, I don't know where work is coming from. I'm nervous of safety. I'm tired of being isolated. All of these feelings that they kind of they bubble up. And I think what you were saying about what the outlook is at the end of this, where we're all in this together, I think it's important for all of us to realize and have empathy for one another, so that we're not just running and just grinding and just, taking time to process.
Right. And I would say from a creative standpoint, so while I'm a creative thinker and problem solver, and I guess I dabble in arts. My sister's an artist, so I have a lot of appreciation for arts. She's, graphic designer, painter, whatever. And I've been more on the thought leader side and hosting events and conferences and whatever. And I find speakers. And I would say if I was a creative right now, and I tell everyone, document this experience and tell your story, whether it's from a thought leadership standpoint or just from here's what's going on, because we want the history books to accurately record this and different perspectives on it and have different ways to represent it, whether it is through written, verbal communication, stories, art, or whatever. But I think it's very important that we have this and have a time capsule of how do people overcome this pandemic so that our future generations can see, wow, they actually thrived or survived this. And I think it's really important that as a creative, you help people tell their stories. There's different business owners out there who would love to figure out how do I record myself on video? How do I do that? And it might be going from you actually doing the editing and whatever to more of coaching. Like, here's how do you have video presence? And so I say that because I think if nothing else, creatives are necessary right now so people can tell their stories, whether from a business or personal standpoint. And it's really important to have you guys here right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think, a lot of my business is hands-on, big set production, video production, filmmaking, that sort of thing. And I mean, obviously I can't do that right now. So I have definitely started taking on some consultation clients and kind of guiding them into different facets of their business and how they can stay creative. Not how they can stay creative, but they can still create things even though they don't have the big team that they used to. I think there's going to be a big shift in that as well. But kind of moving into the same aspect of that is like, what do brands want to be saying right now? Like how important is including their values and their empathy in their statements and how they're positioning themselves?
Right. I think if nothing else, just reassure your client or prospect or the community that like you understand what's going on right now. I think it's very tone deaf when people are acting like it's business as usual. Like, I'm sorry, it's a pandemic. I mean, when's the last time it happened? A couple hundred years ago? Like, this is not happening that often. So it's like, don't say, hey guys, it's a sale right now. It's like, no, hey, we know what's going on. Check in and see how you guys are doing. How can we be of service to you? I just think having that open forum and acknowledging it will make people feel seen. And then have your values aligned through your actions. I think it's your actions. And so right now, what I've seen with brands that have been really effective is figuring out how to provide marketing content that is relevant to your audience, free, but also showcases like your solutions. So for example, if I was and you have a background with, production and film, whatever, like, hey guys, small business owners, here's some tips on how to, I don't know, record yourself and look good, with your iPhone. Obviously, it's not the same value of having like great equipment from you, but he sees and hears me. Here's something I can do. And I'm going to think about Sean like, oh, he's my go-to. When I do have budget, I'm going to give my budget to Sean because he was there for me and helped work with my situation, knowing that money is tight, but I still have to get business done. So I think brands who really acknowledge what's going on, provide good marketing content, and then figure out solutions on maybe I can't offer you a full discount on my solutions or my product or service, but here's another way I can partner or barter with you for something that's going to help our community and our whole industry.
Right. Being a thought leader, is there something you can explain quickly how to come to some of those ideas, like an exercise or something that's like, okay, take 5 minutes and write down all the things that you think your clients can do themselves? I mean, is there a strategy or an exercise that someone could do to come to those solutions?
I would say I tell people to write out like what is my personal goal. So everyone has a goal. For me, I want to leave a legacy of which I either helped underrepresented professionals thrive in corporate or in as entrepreneurs. Once you figure out your goals, figure out what problems do I solve, and then figure out how do I communicate a solution to that problem. So kind of mapping out your goals, problems you solve, and what platforms you have to provide the solution. That's a quick and easy way to do it. But I think it also has to go to like, what is the problem and how do I help? And then how do I distribute in a way that's meaningful and engaging to my target audience?
Sure. I think all of us have our thinking caps on, so to speak. And, we're all trying to figure something out. And that's how this podcast video series came about, is out of necessity. Like, we all don't have work, so it's a necessity that we find work and be creative and think outside the box. But there's also this tension that comes with that. And I think that a lot of creatives have an urging to like create and, like constantly like, okay, I got no work, so I might as well like create as much content as I can. I might as well, think about all these business strategies. But on the flip side of that, how important is it to take time to like step away from it and kind of just be in the moment?
That's really important. In the beginning of this pandemic, I was in that crisis mode, like I got to figure out how to make money, like what's going to happen. As of the last week, I kind of flipped that to how do I protect my peace, and what's my solutions towards peace over productivity? Because that hustle is not helping me right now.
Mhm.
I think right now is the time for me to invest in myself and in my business by acquiring new skills, figuring out ways to partner with other people, and if something happens organically, that's it. So, for example, like I said, I'm more into strategies, communicating solutions, thought leadership, whatever. But I've been like doing some design work recently because I felt inspired. Like, let me play around with designs and way I can make my social media more engaging because I felt kind of insecure with my design skills. Now I did some work recently. People are like, that's pretty good. I'm like, maybe I'll invest in that. So I'm expressing myself. I'm sharing my thought leadership in a different medium than I normally would. So that's been helping me figure out how do I protect my peace, but also invest in my skills so I have a new offering or ways I can express myself to either
Mhm.
target audiences or just feel happy that I learned something new and proud of the work I'm doing.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's really important too. I know for myself, I'm looking forward to. I have one more day of busyness, and then I have some time to like not think about it. Like literally let my mind wind down and kind of be bored in a way, so that way my mind can then gravitate towards what it would naturally find interesting and creative. And I think that's important for all of us as well, because especially now, like I feel like everybody's just they're churning and they're trying to climb out of this box that we've all been put in. I
Yeah. Well,
think.
I try to be of service, and that's always been my standpoint when networking or anything. And it sounds like, well, I'm like, I want to be of service in some way. So, and it's simple things you can do. So, for example, you kind of hear what I'm good at or what I at least like to do. So, I used to host a lot of Zoom meetings, a lot of other things. So, my mom is a risk manager by trade and says risk consulting. So, inside of our family, we've been doing these updates for over a month now on the pandemic. And so I've been helping her like with the vlogging equipment and putting things together and whatever. And it's been helpful to my family because we have a peace of mind. But also she doesn't have to worry about the equipment and how to put the content out there. I'm like, I got you. Also, I do a Zoom virtual happy hour and I do that because I used to host networking events. It's not for me to plug a business, more like, hey guys, let's check in and make sure we're sane and seeing people. So if you have a skill, yeah, free time. Figure out like what's a volunteer opportunity that will make me feel more fulfilled and connected with people and will make their day because they're getting some free kind of help with something they're not strong at. So I
Mhm.
think that's helping me and maybe others can figure out volunteering in a social distancing kind of way.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I think that's part of what this came from out as well as the need to connect and the need to stay in touch with the community. And I think a lot of us, whether we're doing, our own work or we're on set with a small, medium, or large size crew, we're constantly around people. And I think, I mean, for myself, I mean, that's what I love is connecting with people and seeing expressions and catching, their emotions and just being a part of the moment. And so I think, like you said, that's very important, whether it is literally just let's all connect and we'll have a happy hour and that's it. We're just talking and hanging out. Like there's no big deal. Um, did you see the D nice thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even that, like, I see the beauty in the situation. I'm like, I mean, I haven't gone to the club in a while. I know about you. So it's like, man, I haven't been to the club. I'm having the club in the kitchen right now. I'm eating
Mhm.
food because I'm hanging out with my parents and my son. And so I say that I think this is beautiful and hope that we figure out ways to continue some of these elements after the fact. I think D Nice right now is like a national hero. It's like him, Debbie Allen. I'm like, I took a Debbie Allen dance class, and it's just things like that I would probably never have access to. And a lot of people, and that's why I'm so hard on thought leadership. Giving away free content and access to that can change people's lives. Like just knowing, how to stay healthy, was mentally, physically, connecting with people doesn't cost people a thing, but it makes a big difference. So if you can find some way to use some skill set, knowledge, like coming from, like I said, corporate and risk management background, they snooze when I said I worked in insurance and risk management. Now it's like, what? Like, you got some expertise that's of value right now. It's like, it's the same stuff I was doing beforehand.
Yeah.
And it doesn't cost people a thing to share. Here's some tips or resources you can use to protect yourself. So I don't know. I just think that's beautiful what he's doing. And I hope other artists feel inspired, or creatives, or whoever you are, to give joy to people right now who need it the most.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think that was the biggest thing that I took away from that, was like how many people needed that. I mean, it was what, over 200,000 at one point. It's like, that's crazy. There's so many people and so many like big names that were just like popping in and out, and just for everybody. That was so impressive. You said something that kind of hit me, is like, you hope some of these things continue. On the flip side of that, now that we've all kind of slowed down and we're not hustling as hard, what are some things that you would be okay if those things didn't return? Like,
That is a wonderful question. Some things I think we can let go is the hustler mentality, in that, because they call it what the Rock Nation brunch crew, saying, take this coronavirus check and make a business out of it. It's like, hey guys, everything does not have to be about business and hustles and all that stuff. Like, do work that's meaningful, but also take time and invest in your health, your connections. And I think that will be a better society. Also, this mentality of we're separate. I'm so fortunate, like you are, to be in California, where our governor took this seriously, put us in shelter early. Others who I'm related to are not. And they're like, there's still parts of the state, just people running around. I'm like, y'all are going to get sick because your states aren't taking it seriously. So we all have to take it seriously to protect our neighbors and outside of us. So I hope this individualism kind of mentality shifts, so we get back to community and think like, even though I'm okay, how can I protect my neighbors so they'll be okay too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's vital to keep that in mind. I know there's a grocery store here in West Oakland. I think it's Mandela Grocery, and I mean they scrambled to put together a delivery service because some of their customers are elderly or more at risk people, and so they stepped up and provided some sort of a delivery service, which was fantastic. On the other side of the country in New York, apparently there was a big Navy ship that came in, and all of those people went down to see it. So I think there's some consciousness that has to be brought to some people. They just haven't figured it out yet, or they think they're invincible, or they maybe just selfish. I think that's the biggest thing, is now it's like, it's not just me and my family, but the people next to me and the people that I come in contact with.
It's an educational thing, I think, too. One of my friends, he's a doctor, and we worked in corporate, but in public health back in the days. He's like, this public health should be a required course for everybody. I'm like, I agree. Like, certain things that were treated as electives should be mandatory. Public health, financial literacy, because recession, not money is tied. Like, everything's kind of tied. So things that we thought were, that would be nice, that's crucial. Financial literacy. If more of us knew how to take care of ourselves from a financial health standpoint, we would be in better positions right now. Hasn't been something we've been widely educated on. Public health, all these different things. So I hope we get more of that in the Common Core of education for people, because I think that would save lives. I think some people are just defiant and like, I want to go out, I'm going to go out. Others just don't know any better, and they're thinking, I'm being safe, I have my mask on, but I'm hanging out with everybody by the ship. That's not really socially distancing yourself. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the biggest challenges in today's like media frenzy, right, is like, you've got CNN, you've got MSNBC, you've got Fox, you've got whoever down the street, like, I mean, everybody's posting everything as if there's newscasters. And I think it's really hard to navigate what that actually is. And I don't feel like there's one unified source. Now, I'm not saying that it should be like a government source,
Yeah.
because that would be a completely different story. But at least if there was one channel that was like, here are the actual facts, that was, I don't know. I think that helps, or could help some of that. But then again, then you have other apps out there, Facebook, Instagram, everybody's feeding you with all this different stuff. So you don't know what to pay attention to, or what's important. Like I don't
That's
know.
true.
It's
Well, I
challenging.
mean, Sean, you seem like, at least you're not a Z generation. You seem a little more advanced like that, like me. And, back in our days, when I'm like, Mom, how do I spell this? She's like, you better go find a dictionary, and it's like we became more resourceful. And I think we have to go back to like finding things out in like, the Britannica encyclopedia. Like we would
Right,
just go
right.
look things up. Now, sometimes the information's false or whatever, but the idea is like we need to be more critical about our news sources, what we're taking from it. All media is kind of twisted at this point. I would say I don't believe there's a fake news. I think it's more of like clickbait, and then you get the actual information. Like, oh, that's what it is. Okay, cool. But
Yeah.
I think we need to be more conscious of what we're putting in our bodies, what we're listening to, who we're around.
Mm-hmm.
What's going to be interesting is how many relationships are going to begin or end because of this. A lot of toxic relationships are probably going to end. I think that's what's. If you so on the real note, keeping it 100% real, dating, you know, dating somebody, they weren't taking this pandemic seriously because I'm like, my background tells me I need to be quarantined inside. I'm not seeing, but if my partner is out there riding around doing stuff, I'm like, I'm not going to see you, babe. And it also makes me think like, could you really be the head of my household? Because I can't trust you during a pandemic. That how can I trust you on my best days? So it'll be interesting seeing holistically how people change. I predict there's going to be a rise in divorce, increase in babies, and also this generation is going to be kind of affected like the depression kids, like back in the days. I think this is going to really recenter people like, dang, like this was really hard. I survived this. These kids today are going to be very interesting adults in the future.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree. I think that this is definitely adding pressure. I live with my partner, and she and I mean, she's downstairs having Zoom calls. I'm upstairs having Zoom calls, and we have space enough to navigate our individuality, but yet we still have an opportunity to come together daily. And I think that's important. I don't know what that would be like if we had two kids or a single kid in a 600 square foot apartment in New York. Like I think there's some extra added tension. The other thing, I mean, you have a kid. How old is?
I have a 7-year-old son. So
Okay.
yeah, it's interesting parenting during this pandemic.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've got, school responsibilities. You're the lunch lady now. You're like like you have all of these extra hats. Like I can't even comprehend that, to be honest, of how you can be thinking business, family, teaching, and then, like personal life. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know how you could do it. I don't know. Tell me how you deal with that.
Yeah, I'm a single parent. So it's like, I always had to make decisions before. Now it's just decision making on steroids, and like I said, I'm not too proud to find a different stream of income. And I know some people are like, hey, I'm a business person, whatever. Hey, if I have to get a hustle here and do my business, I'll do whatever I have to do to survive this, because this is all temporary. Eventually life will go back or change and be more stable, right?
Mm-hmm.
I got to write this out. So I'm not above doing what I have to do. If I have to hustle insurance again, I'll hustle insurance and have my business and have other things. And so that's what I tell people, be open and adaptable. That's how you survive this. But on like the parenting side of it, parents, guardians, whoever you are, because not everyone's a parent, but they watch kids or influence somehow. I would just say is be gentle with yourself. I am not a teacher. I do not have teaching credentials. My goal has pivoted these last couple weeks. First week is I'm going to teach my son all kinds of stuff. Now I'm going to help him retain his information. Like if I can retain it, because he goes to a Chinese immersion school, and I don't speak Mandarin. So I'm like, if I can help him retain the information based on what the school gave me, which they're trying, but they gave me a 3-week packet and a couple links to things. I'm like, what the hell is that going to do for me? And
Right.
so I just say people be patient. If you can at least keep the lights on if you can, or find resources to keep the lights on and keep your kid retaining information, and keep your kid as peaceful as possible. We don't want to have kids be anxious right now. Anxiety can affect your hormones, which can have health issues and all. So if nothing else, have them retain information, take care of the basic necessities, and keep your child at peace. And that's going to be a fantastic job you do throughout this. Don't try to climb Mount Everest right now. Just do the basics and you'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I was overheard a conversation my partner was having yesterday, and she has a friend that has two kids, and I mean, same thing. She's balancing the kids, work, home life, and her husband is there, but he's very focused. I mean, yesterday apparently he had 12 calls, so like he's not able to help at certain times. And I think, you know, I guess I really just want to say that I understand that it's hard. It's not easy at all. I'm sitting in here in my office, no kids. I have a dog, and I'm doing things, but like you can't balance all of it, and that's okay.
And I feel fortunate. I mean, I feel like everything happens for a reason, because I'm always like, I'm spiritual, like I said. I'm like, God never gives me a setback without a come up. So I'm just waiting for my God, where is that come up? I mean, I see the setbacks. Where am I going with this? But at the same time, I'm like, okay, I got laid off around the holidays, which is like, boo, everyone wants a Christmas. But I'm like, hey, I'm going to just have my side hustle. Good thing I had that. I'm going to use that to sustain me. Now I'm like, imagine me trying to balance a lot right now while keeping my son at peace, while trying to homeschool and whatever. And I'm like, at least right now, people understand, hey, why are you trying to like hustle? Well, it's a pandemic, and it's more understandable than, being unemployed when it's a good, economy or whatever. So I'm like, I'll write this out because I have skills and I have luckily a network to help support me right now.
Yeah.
But I just say that things happen for a reason. I'm just trying as much as I can to be like, man, how do I maximize the experience and really have a deeper relationship with my son, especially bonding over homework. It's always been a battle in the past. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, if I have one thing I can get out of this is like, maybe we can enjoy homework more, and I would feel pretty satisfied with that. But like I said, I think things happen for a reason. So I can say like, man, I wish I had more work. I can only do so much, but it's like, I'm so happy I can be present for my son to help teach him while he has no teacher right now. So it's just kind of perspective. And I know it's not always that simple, but that's what grounds me and keeps me mentally sane. Cause I'm like, I could either be depressed or I can be inspired to, be creative and be there for my family.
Yeah. And you mentioned peace. That's always been a deciding factor for me. Cause if I don't feel peace in it, I can't move forward. It doesn't rest well. And then, you also talked about like pivoting, or not pivoting. I'm so tired of that like word right now. Like everybody's pivot this way, pivot that way. But, you had mentioned something about, I think, going from your job where you were to a side hustle.
Yeah.
And, in today's gig economy, I think a lot of us have multiple things like that. With like, how did you call it? Your disaster management, or what did you call it?
So, okay. So risk management. So I'll tell you, how about pivots, man? Pivots, that's my life. I don't know about you, but I pivoted a lot. So
that's entrepreneurship.
Right. So I worked in corporate, in public health, as well as in insurance. Insurance includes like actually buying insurance, but also there are people who consult companies and people on how to manage risk. So I went from, corporate to work in an insurance company. And then I got recruited to work for an insurance magazine, which allowed me to work 100% remote for about 2 years. That's the job I got laid off. So I kind of holistically saw like risk management, insurance, and then how do you distribute information about this so people actually have a call to action that's clear. So Unfortunately, like I said, I got laid off from that, but I probably would have got laid off at this point anyways, because I mean, magazines that are niche like that aren't really making much money during a pandemic.
Yeah.
But so that's what I was doing to clarify.
Yeah. So, but with that, like that risk management, kind of tying it back into diversified portfolio or diversified product offerings, which generate diversified income or revenue stream. Like, how important is it really to have, say as a photographer, I only shoot weddings. How important is it to have another piece of or another type of business that you can rely on? Like how important is that when looking at risk management?
Right. I think it's very crucial. I do believe in expertise. I like specialists, but you can have a specialty that you distribute or use in different ways. So maybe you are a wedding photographer, but can you also, you can take the pictures, you can edit them with other people have old pictures you want to restore from like the 70s, you can have stock photography people use for invitations. You can coach on how to do, like, it's multiple ways you can do your business. You're still a specialist in wedding photography. Maybe right now, think about this. And I know people are having weddings at their homes right now, or they're just calling them off, right? Can you coach people and, hey, here's a mini course or here's a coaching on how to take your own wedding photography at your house during the pandemic? Mm-hmm. That could be another thing. And so I think it's very important, but it doesn't have to be that difficult. I think like, oh, this whole new, business up and figure out, it's like money. Where's the problem at, or where's the opportunity? Right now, people are at home. So how can I figure out how to do my job in a way that's accessible and of value to people right now? So it's very important. And if you weren't doing it before, be your standard going forward. How do I, in case this industry tanks, think about that. All the travel bloggers right now, mm-hmm. Where the heck are you going? What are you shooting? What are you doing? I don't know. And so if you didn't before, now more than ever, it's like, okay, if my industry gets impacted, what is my plan B and C? And just have that lined up, whether you're thriving or not right now. So I think it's very crucial.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that was a really good summary of kind of thinking through some things. And I mean, you gave great examples as well as, thought process behind that. I know a lot of us creatives are struggling in that way, trying to grasp new concepts or new revenue streams. And I think, that you've provided a ton of great resources. I really appreciate that. I don't want to take too much of your time, of course. I know you've got your son and everything. So I really just want to thank you for stopping by. Yeah, right. Yeah, no,
I stopped right in. It's, Club Sean. I appreciate it. And I would say every industry has an opportunity to think about, don't waste that experience. You're like, hey, maybe it might be gone. Like cruise industry, don't know about that, but there's something from experience you can bring into the future or share about something. Retail right now, retail's retail already been like, messed up since Amazon came and basically took over like a freaking thug. But it's like, how do you kind of think about things now? Like if I was a retailer, I would advise people, how do you preserve your clothes? How do you, some solutions? And I say that if nothing else away from this is, one, appreciate platforms like Sean has to share your story, share your solutions, create your own platform, think outside how you can survive. And if all you do from this is protect your peace, you did one hell of a job.
Yeah, I totally agree. You couldn't have said it better.
So anybody who wants to stay in touch with me, I'm happy to help. You can reach me at deidrewright.com, as I'm happy to give free 20-minute coaching sessions to kind of clarify how you're going to pivot right now to protect your peace, pitch your brand, clarify it, and maximize this opportunity right now to help others and yourself.